Hello and welcome to the Wikipedia Weekly Network here, where Albin Larsson and I are editing Wikidata live. How are you doing, Albin?
I'm doing well. I think I said it last time, but it's even more apparent this time that autumn is really here. It's completely black outside and it's kind of windy during the days, very colorful. And in the garden, I can still do harvest while I also need to prepare for the next season. And yeah, autumn is really here. How are you, Jan?
Well, it's not as prevalent here, but it's rainy, but it's still kind of lukewarm outside, so it's not too bad. But today it's been raining all day, so I've been in perfect weather to be inside and play with data.
Right.
And I guess that's what we're going to do today as well, because today we're going to take a look at OpenRefine.
Yeah.
Well, can you quickly tell us what, or the audience, what OpenRefine is?
So OpenRefine is a data tool for refining data, for essentially cleaning and turning messy data into more structured data. And also, it has a great feature since a couple of years back to import data into Wikidata. And I think that's what you're going to show us, Jan.
Yes. I'm going to try to do some imports, and you are mostly going to try to clean up data?
It depends on how far we get.
All right.
I have prepared some data just slightly, but it's still messy, and I'm gonna try to clean it up, but I think I'm gonna split it into two. So I will do the data cleaning this time, and we do the import next time.
All right. I think I can get away with that we don't have too much cleaning for my data set. So I might actually show the entire workflow in one session if we are lucky. So I'll start here by sharing my screen here. So in the project that you and I are working on in the Wiki project Gov Director, we will try to get data on all the government agencies in the world. Just the other day or the other week, we added a new feature. We display the phone numbers if there are any phone numbers, and we're also a little bit picky. We want them to have a reference so that we don't get too much spam or false things into it. So I was thinking, I sort of remembered that there might be a data set for Swedish municipalities. And I took a look at the municipality and regions website, and lo and behold, they had contacts. Did I scroll by it already? Yes, contacts for municipalities. And you can just download an XLS file, and that you can import into Jupyter or into the OpenRefine. So let's head in there. So this is how it looks when you come to hub.pos.wmcloud.org. And we showed this last week, but I'm going to show you this from the very start so you can follow along here. So you'll sign in with your Wikimedia account. I should be signed in. Does it take a few seconds for it to recognize that I already was signed in? Yes. And then it pops up here. Do you want to allow this? Yes, I do. I do want to allow it. Here it was in Swedish, but it says it can edit on your behalf and interact with media and stuff like that. And that'll head you into your sort of toolbar. And now I have a lot of, because I've been practicing here all day, a lot of scrap projects that I could clean up. I'm not going to clean up right now. I'm going to head straight into OpenRefine to show you how it looks like. And it's sort of, I think it's a little bit hidden because it's under this little new tab under here. You have the OpenRefine. And you just have to click that to launch it. You don't have to install anything on your computer. So click it and we'll head in to it. It will launch a session here. And this is where it sort of starts in general, like you're creating a new project, and it assumes that you have some data already. That's sort of the general workflow. And I sort of, in my brain, I think of working with OpenRefine like three phases broadly. One is importing and cleaning up the data. Two is matching the data towards Wikidata, reconciliation. And the third is preparing it to move it into Wikidata. That's sort of my mental model of it. It's actually not that clear cut. You can you can jump around in how you do it, but that's how I'm thinking. So let's select a file here. I had already downloaded it, and you didn't even get to see my browser pop up, but I just selected the thing and I'll press next. Now it uploads the thing. You'll see a little preview here. The data is in Swedish, but you don't need to know much more that this is the municipalities and here are the phone numbers. So pretty easy. It also says here how many rows it is. And since it's 290 municipalities in Swedish and one header row, I know this is sort of correct. So that's very good. And I just want to go along with this. And then took me a few minutes to figure out, oh, it's up in the top right corner. I will go next and create the project. So the first was just a preview to see how it looks. And if you have several tabs in the Excel sheet or something like that, you can select them. And now we have a brand new thing here. And I'll quickly just go to 50 rows. It's not possible by default to see everything at once. But at least we can see what we have in here. And now you could go either start cleaning up the data first, or you could start matching, or you could do it in any order you would like. But since I said my mental model was cleaning up the data first, let's go with that. And we have the phone numbers here, and Wikidata want the country code in this, and we don't have it. So here's one of the powerful things with OpenRefine. It allows you to do a lot with the data. And underneath this little arrow, we have many things to select from. But in this thing, I want to edit cells, and I want to transform them. There are a few things that it can help you with, like that is very easy. But for now, this I'm actually going to have to do a special thing because I'm going to add something to it. So I'll head into the transform here, and it has a very nice thing like, here's your value now, and here's what it's going to look like after you're done, a preview window. So
hello, Nicholas.
Yes, hello. So essentially here, I'm going to try to add something before this. So I want to add plus 46 and like this. And so here we can see we're already on our way. We added the country code, but now we have this leading 0 that we don't want. So we'll have to remove that. So we'll quickly here, and here this field is very powerful. They have their own sort of expression language, but you can also do Python and Clojure. I don't know what it is, but so I'm a beginner with this. But there are a few things that are sort of also a little bit similar to other things, like both SQL and Sparkle. So I'm going to try to do a substring here. And that is essentially from the value, and I'm so just skipping the first
Right.
0. And this is already a lot better. And if we scroll down, oh, here we see something ugly. We have empty spaces around this. So we'll do a replace for that. And we'll do that replace here.
Nicholas came here with a great point that for this Grell language, as it's called, it has great documentation, especially when it comes to examples.
Yeah.
one can use copy paste them.
So here, I'm just going to replace anything like this with just this. And that's already a little bit better. And then it turns out that our phone number property is even pickier. So
Yeah.
the phone number property doesn't want these spaces in here. It wants it replaced with also with a hyphen. So let's see if we can do that as well. So that would go into a second replace here.
I think the phone number property in Wikidata follows some very specific standards about how you should write phone numbers.
Yes. No, wait, this is wrong. I shouldn't do it here. I should do it outside. So from here, is the space with thing. We get that wrong. I lost my value somewhere.
Yeah, between the replaces, I assume? Or am I lost as well? So here's the trick, people. When you preview it, transform it, go back, make a new transform for each time.
Yeah. So let's start over. So we had the value. We want to make a substring of 1 like that. All right. That's where we had it. And then we're going to replace. That's the first one. No. There we are. And then the second one around that. Replace this. There we go. Oh, I shouldn't replace it with that. I should replace it with this. All right, there we go. There we have the standard that
Nice.
Wikidata wants. And does it look right? Yes, it does look right. All right, so now I'll just press OK here. Boop. And it'll transform all of these things. So now I've cleaned up all my data in the way. So now we're on to the next tricky part. And this tricky part is to reconcile it or match it with Wikidata. Luckily, this data is kind of good already. So, and how you do it, you select the column which you think are most likely to easy match. And I'm going to go with this one because it has the labels. And you say start reconciling. And now I already added it for, by default, it only comes with English. You can also add it for Swedish as well. And you'll find on this link, you'll find how to add the new service for other languages. And since this is in Swedish, I'm going to go with Swedish.
Yeah, and this is for the label, matching with labels.
Yeah.
So I imagine you could also match with identifiers and such.
Yes. And here it actually sort of recognizes, oh, are these items municipalities in Sweden, perhaps? And do you want me to be trying to match it especially for these? And since I know that all of these have that as on their instance of, that's going to be very helpful for us. So I'm here just going to go with start reconciling. I could perhaps try to go with the municipal code because we have that as a property, but I'm just going to start with start reconciling. This is going to take a little while. It's 290 items, so we'll see how far it gets.
Yeah.
And depending on what you're trying to match in Wikidata and what it already is in Wikidata, you can also try to match it to perhaps the emails, because these are probably in there. If there are web pages, I think all the web pages are in there, and if they're good, you could try to match it on that as well. So you can go on a little bit of exploratory trying to match it. So we'll see where we get here. And then it's quite common that you still have to do a few manual maneuvers. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have some of these here, because the hard part with the Swedish municipalities is that they have existed, and then in 1971, a lot of them ended and new ones started, sometimes with the same name, but legally or like area-wise not the same. So we have items with similar names in Wikidata, and that might make it harder for OpenRefine to actually match it here. But they do help a lot. So I'm going to show that how we do it if we get to 100% here soon.
About 90.
Yes. All right, working. And hope a lot of things turns blue. We see some blue here, yes. Not too bad. So we in the left here you see 271 matched, 19 non-matched. And everything that is blue like this have been matched to something in Wikidata. If you hover over it, you see what it matches to. If you think that's wrong, you can press the small text choose new match below here to release that connection. And then we have some like these where it didn't match, but it has a few alternatives. And if you hover over one of these, you see, oh, this one is the one that started in 83, and this one is the one that ended in 73. So
And
this
this
one
is an
the
exact
current one.
example of what you mentioned.
Yeah. So I'm going to match this cell here, boop, and we'll fix it. And now this one takes some time to update. So I'm also going to show you to the left here. If I click on these none here, it's going to filter this column to only show me these ones, so I quickly can work with just these. So let's see if we can quickly figure out these. This is the current one. This is the old one. So match with the first. Boop. Stockholm. This is the current one. This is the old one. And yes, so boop. Same here. Solna. This is the current one. And here we have another tricky one for OpenRefine. We have one that's named Habu and one that's named Hobu. And it couldn't figure out which was which, but it's, of course, this one. As humans, we can see this. And then Gnesta. Yes, match. Trusa, match. Waldstena, match. And here's the second one, Habu Hobu. This one will be Habu then. And region Gotland, yes. And Malmö kommun, tricky because it has different names. This is the new one. This is the new one. This is the new one. Almost done. And depending on the data set you have, how clean Wikidata is, this can actually take quite a lot of time. If you have large data set of thousands of items, we're lucky now to have as good starting point as this. And I think that was all of them. All right. So, all matched. And now let's see. How do I come back and see all of them again? Do I press this one? Yep.
Yeah.
So now we see all 290 and all matched. So now we're going to the third phase. Now we're going to try to figure out what to put in Wikidata and exactly how are we going to put it there. And this is called making a schema. And you find it up in the top right corner again, edit Wikidata schema. And I had a very hard time figuring out what I was about to do next before I figured out, oh, this is where I'm going to go. And what we'll do here is that we want to add a new item to our thing or to our schema. So I'll just start by clicking that. And then I'll drag the municipality down here because this is the thing I'm going to add something on. And then I'm going to add a statement here. And the statement I'm going to add is phone number. And for phone number, I'll just drag our phone field. And we want to have a reference for this. I didn't check if we already had this data set in here.
Right, so we could refer to the actual item about the dataset rather than its URL.
Yeah. Let's see if we have. Yes, so this is the association. Let's see what links here. If we have something, if we have the data portal. Oh no, are they everyone? Oh, maybe they have a data portal. We have that as a property, do we?
We do.
Let's see. But not on this one. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it with the URL then.
Yeah.
So we had the URL here, and we'll add a reference. And we'll add a retrieve date. I was just looking at this today. And today is 10:02. So sort of like editing Wikidata, but you're doing it here before.
Yeah, it seems very similar.
Yes. Oh, but you missed one thing here, because if you don't add the references, you're going to have a lot of issues up here, and it's going to say, you should add references. OpenRefine is really good with that. But we have one issue here, so let's check what it says. Phone number statements with invalid format. Oh, no. Oh, so it's helpful here. It also says we have one wrong. And this is, of course, wrong. So it's probably wrong in the data from the start. But it also says it's on Umeå kommun. So let's head back here and see if we can find it. This is not in any particular order here.
Now you can make a text facet. or you can sort it using the small arrow. So I think you have the option to sort it quite far down, and you also have the option to filter.
Wait. Oh, here, sort.
Yeah.
There, sort. Yes, so let's just sort send to A. That should be easy for us. STU. So this one had something strange here. All right. So now there's also this really cool thing that you can actually go in and just write over if there's something really strange. So I'll just do this and apply to this cell. And now, hopefully after that edit, the issue will go away. I might need to go back.
Yeah, you might need to navigate. Interesting.
Did I not press save? I did. Maybe I need to save the schema.
Let's see the error again. Is it only that item, or is it complaining for more than one?
Which is not the case on Umeå Kommun.
Okay.
So it usually says one issue for each item.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Well, we know it's correct now, even though this view hasn't updated. And this is the only edit I want to make. It's 290 edits. Now here you could upload edits to Wikidata, which would let OpenRefine edit this. Now, since I know there are already a few phone numbers for a few of the municipalities, and that quick statements is better to handle the duplicates, you can also export these to quick statements. And then, of course, you will just use quick statement as you use it, and we have shown this many times. So I'm just going to export here. This will download a file for me, I think, or will it pop up?
I'm not sure. I usually also export from OpenRefine to quick statements, but I just modify the columns to quick statements CSV format.
Didn't download for me. There it downloads.
Oh,
so
it
downloads a text file for me. And I can just copy that. And then we can open quick statements here. Let's see, am I logged in for this? I am. And I'll just show you here before. Nope, that's not the thing I wanted. That's the format that you get here.
And Nicholas asked, why are you still using Q?
Yes. So here's the reason why I'm using QS. So, for example, if this statement already is in quick statements but has no source, quick statements will just add the source for it and not edit this actual duplicate the statement. Whereas I do think that OpenRefine will just create a new statement, so we'll have it twice instead. And we want to avoid that as much as possible, especially if the data is the same. So that's why I'm doing this. But this is boring, looking at quick statements Go, because it's just gonna. I'm just gonna press a button here. Oh, we can import it also, so they can see it.
Yeah, so let's just press the button and see what happens to begin with.
There it goes. So it formats this, and then it says you have 580 edits because it makes first the phone number and then the reference. Yes. So I'm gonna start this one and have it run, and then we'll. Wait, what? I don't think so. Yes. As I said, I'm not sure. This was my thinking. So if anyone can reassure me that I can just use OpenRefine, I would be very happy, because this is, of course, one extra step. But I think this at least works. So I'm pressing run here, and we'll have this one go. And meanwhile this runs, you will show some data cleaning.
Yeah, and as Jan mentioned, OpenRefine might do it in a certain way, but it's not always clear what OpenRefine is doing behind the scenes. So I see that as a reason. Let's see here. So I'm gonna quickly just resize my screen, I see, so you get as much as possible from me. So I have an interesting data set I have been downloading. I have actually been loading it into my own SparkL endpoint here. And it's for exhibition data, like museum exhibitions throughout the history, from one of the Wall of Culture museums here in Sweden. So I'm gonna just run my query here again, and it's a very simple SparkL query, very generic, that gets me a URI, it gets me the museum, a label for the exhibition, and the good old things. Essentially the basics we need in Wikidata. And I'm gonna download this, and it prompts me, I don't think you see it, to save this as a CSV, which I'm gonna do. Done, check. And I'm gonna head over to OpenRefine, and this looks just like what you should have seen on Jan's end of things. Although I'm on an old version, because that's me.
Oh, you're running it locally?
I'm running it locally. I have some slight modifications also to my OpenRefine, so that's why. But I'm gonna open that CSV, and that CSV is kind of a good example of the import process here, because hey, that doesn't look correct at all. We get here, and it's already set to commas as a CSV. So I'm gonna try to sort this out. So I think I'm gonna need to select custom here, so that essentially what splits each cell in the CSV is something different than a comma. And what I did here is that I had spaces around the comma, because even that these are quoted, OpenRefine doesn't understand the CSV. But this is a great example of always check here that it looks correct, and only import it when it looks correct, because it's much simpler to fix at this stage. It always picks the project name from the file name, and I just did it from a SparkL endpoint, so mine is called query results for CSV, which is not very helpful. I'm actually gonna create a new project name here, because I don't think I will be able to finish this today. So that looks like something I kind of understand, and everything here looks good. I'm gonna click create project. And as you can see, I got 66 rows. And you might have, when John did some edits, you might have noticed, yeah, that went pretty quickly. He got 290. He only needed to clean up the phone number. I need to clean all of this. And that is gonna take a lot more time, even though I have 3 times lesser data. So 4 times. So we can have a look here. You see that there's some odd things going on here from the CSV. I'm gonna leave that for now, but something I have noticed when I've been working with this or just looking at it is that this identifier here, it's essentially a linked data identifier, and this one is the same. And it's because I have realized that temporary exhibitions that are also photo exhibitions got 2 tags. So they are essentially duplicated. We can see that here, that this is the exhibition label. This one is in Swedish. And here's the same one, and they got the same identifier. But we got duplicates of them because we got 2 different types of exhibitions. And looking at Wikidata, and I have an example here for an exhibition, a Swedish exhibition currently ongoing. This is kind of what I will try to model it after. But one thing I actually want to change in this one is that this just says exhibition. but it's actually a temporary exhibition. We can see that it has a end date, nature of statement expected because it's ongoing. So I want to see if we can temporarily. Did I spell it correctly? Exhibition? I did not. And that's the one. It's a subclass of what we just had here. So I'm gonna change that quickly. So, and that for me is more important than the fact that it's a photo exhibition. So what I'm gonna do here is that I'm just gonna remove all the ones that says photo, and hopefully that way we won't have duplicates. Altered, we will check for that later. So what I will do then is that I will head over to this type here and make a text facet here. Because a facet very clearly creates sections of your data for each type of value or each exact value that we get. So here, for example, permanent, it says 14, photo 11. Then we got a couple of different ones, essentially temporarily, but in Swedish in 2 different ways, and also traveling exhibitions. So we got 3 types of exhibitions here. We got the permanent ones, temporary ones, and traveling ones. And we got a couple of odd things that we want to clean up. But first, we want to remove all of those photos. So I'm going to click include here, actually. And here we should see all those 11. So we got essentially this. And I'm pretty sure all of these are duplicates. So I'm actually going to make it very easily for myself. And I'm going to say edit rows, remove matching rows. So everything that's currently matching my filter here in my facets, I'm going to remove. And that's it. We can see it turned 0. I can click exclude here. It's updates. And this again should be all data. We should now have temporarily, permanent, as well as traveling somewhere, as well as 2 things that aren't correct. And the facet here is not only useful for seeing the data when we needed to exclude the photos, but it also, I don't know much about this data, what is in here. I did not know before I created this facet that we also got like odd temporarily messaging here. So I'm actually gonna click on this to include this. I want to include this one as well. And yeah, those 2 are the odd ones. They are in Swedish, but we are expecting the English. So because I misspelled it previously, I'm going to copy it here actually. And as Jan showed you, you can just edit the cells. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click apply, and it's just 2, but I could actually set everything in this column to this value if I want. So that's it. If I click exclude here, we all now only got 3 types. And that are 3 types we want. We want to map them towards Wikidata later on. The next thing I want to do is if I scroll here, that looks a lot like odd columns, okay? That's a problem for another day. But what I do is that I have a title English and title Swedish. And to me, I want to use these values to make labels in Wikidata essentially, as well as populate the title property, because there I can have this language qualifier. And we also got a general label here, which I got because that was how the data was modeled. But it can be a bit like anything. So if I turn this up to 50, this one is in Swedish. Oh, this one is a great one. Or it's a terrible one, but it's a great example. So it's blue and white in Swedish. Then it's blue and white in English with that and mark. And then it's blue and white for a second time in English with just and. So that's why I have an author field here, and it sometimes contains something. So I actually want to work with this field, and I want to first see what type of values we can find in here. So I'm going to make a text filter, And what I usually do here when I want a text field that can contain something is that I just do dot plus. And let's see, I got new values here. What if I click regular expression here? Yeah. So this is a regular expression that says match anything except new lines. And it should give me that. So we can see that it now I only got rows with an actual English title. But we can already see here that, okay, Cyprus exhibition, and then there are a date here. Is the date actually part of the exhibition? It's a good question to ask. And this appears to be a Swedish title. If I go to the label, I can see that it only says that. So I imagine this is maybe an exhibition. It was only for a month as well, or a couple of days even. Yeah, a couple of days. That maybe this very short exhibition did not have an English title. And therefore it just is a default value there. Also, here I got stories from Syria in Swedish. It shouldn't be in the English title. I got a couple of more ones with dates. So I want to clean this ones up. So what I usually do here is that I have a look. For example, the first one includes date. Should it really include date? We see here in the big label that it has a comma and then the dates, indicating that it might not be part. So I'm actually gonna head over to the URL here and see what they have to say about it. So this is a page about exhibition. Here we can see the name of the exhibition. Oh, I imagine it's very small and also very light text. And it's a comma in between there. Maybe they have something to say about it. Cyprus exhibition. So I see that at the time it was a permanent exhibition. It's not permanent in the way that it continues forever, but permanent. They did not have a plan to remove it. So therefore, I imagine actually during the time and such, they did not have the dates here, because that would have been very odd in a permanent exhibition to say that, hey, this is gonna start here and end here. So with that in mind, I'm gonna drop the dates because I don't think they were part of that. And again, I'm just gonna make the edit here. Again, here we got a Swedish title, so I'm gonna quickly go over to that item here. New images. It's essentially says the family showcase. And just for a few. This is just for a week. And no, it has no additional information. So I don't think this had an English title. So what I'm gonna do here is that I'm actually gonna remove this. Apply that. Gold Room. That seems like a very good English title. Then we got stories from Syria, but in Swedish. I'm gonna quickly head over there to have a look. Oh, actually here, let's see. It doesn't have an English title in the metadata, but it do have an English description saying that the exhibition, Stories from Syria, includes personal belongings and so on. Meaning that it do have a title in English, but it do not have it in structured metadata. So I'm actually gonna copy the English title from here and add it to my data. So I'm gonna remove the Swedish one entirely. Apply. And I would continue like this for all of them. I think this one is good, but I think this one is slightly wrong. Art of copying is probably correct, and so on. But I wanted to try a couple of other things. One is the record URI. So if I head over to Wikidata to look at what property this would go on. So I'm quickly gonna open Wikidata and I'm gonna say property 1260. I'm pretty sure it is. here we go. And I should use search property. And here we go. So I want to look at the format of this. I happen to know the format, but that's it. So in Wikidata, we do not store the entire URI. We only store like the suffix value of the URI. It has plenty of examples, what it looks like here. I don't think it has an exhibition example, but we can look at that in other ways. And it also works on commons. Nice examples. Okay. So I actually want to split this into another column because I want that column to already have like the name of the property. So I'm gonna go and let's see, edit column, split into several columns. And it asked me to split by separator, split into many columns. I might have like essentially a CSV-like field and split it by the commas, but I want to split it by field length. And that's essentially because everything at the beginning of the URL, I want to be in a specific way. I'm actually gonna go here and copy this. It might be very helpful. So I'm gonna go back, and it takes a while to learn how to find your way through the various menus here. Edit columns, split into several columns by field length. And I think we should be able to do something like this. How many are that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 15, 19, 20, 23. Can I see a preview here? No, I cannot. Let's try if this works. This might not work, but that would prove something else. So I'm going to click that. First of all, I made a mistake that we missed one or two in my counting, and I have no clue where my things got. This happens all the time, or let's pretend it does. So we actually got a great feature in OpenRefine. I just happens to get to show that we can undo and redo changes very easily. So you actually got like a bit like an edit history, but it's very interactive. So we can actually just click where we want to go. It would preview it, and we can say apply. No, I think actually we're done like that. Yeah. So we can actually start working from a specific set. But instead, I want to transform the columns into a new row, I believe. I think I can do it like this. And this is very similar to what you have seen Jan showing. I will do something slightly differently here. I will head into Python/EPython here because although I have been working with OpenRefine for multiple years, I have never learned this Grell language. I just happens to know how to do this by programming. So I'm gonna do it like this. And it's very simple. You usually just need to say that you return something instead of just saying value in there. So here we got something that returns something. But we want to make some changes here. So I actually want to do replace something. And let's see, that's not the part I wanted to replace. I want to replace this first part. Let's see if I can copy it easily somewhere. There we go, copy. Replace that with absolutely nothing. So then we get a preview like that. That's what I want the value to look like. On error, can I already here say no? I can't. So I want to transform that. Now we remove that first part of the URL. I also gonna rename this column, which I can do here. And what I actually should have done is add column based on this column if I wanted to have this one remain. So edit column, can I rename it here? Yes. And I'm gonna call it P1260 because that's the property name. I'm just gonna make it a little easier for myself later on. And that's one of them. The URL, it's not really the official URL, but it's more like described at URL, that property, rather than being the official URL. There is also official URL for some of them, like the currently ongoing ones, but I don't have that easily accessible. It might be something I do later on. Another thing that it's usually a very common thing that you need to clean up is the start and end types, or like dates. But this dataset actually happens to be very nicely formatted. It's entirely structured the way I want it. So that's that. And I wonder, and I know seems like I have an active filter on. Yeah, I still got my title English filter on. So we actually saw that now. So I had an active filter on while I was working with this column, which was a complete and actual mistake this time, not just one to demonstrate it. But then we can see that I only edited the ones I had selected by that filter, which is why I need to do this again with my transform here, which I can do rather quickly. There we go. So we transform, and it actually says me what it did here, and we can see it in the history of what's going on, that I did that twice. Here you can see that I only did it on 12 cells, simply because I had that filter active since before. I still have some cleanup I wanted to show. So essentially what I want to do here is that I want to replace the type of the exhibition with the Wikidata QID for that particular type. So I want to first of all head over to Wikidata. This isn't Wikidata, but I'm rather lazy, so I'm gonna copy exhibition from here and say VD exhibition, because it happens to have a built-in search. Here we got an art one, we got the exhibition one, and we got temporary one. We actually don't want exhibition, we want a permanent exhibition. Do we have an item for that? I would expect so. And did you just miss the opportunity to show the expression history feature? Does that work? I'm not sure if that's a great question. So if I go to, correct me if I'm doing this wrong, but I think I should go then into transform, and I should have history here. Yes. So here we can actually see what I've been working on previously. There was a great comment, and so I can actually reuse my old various expression I have been using. We can see here I replaced if something is a space, replace that with nothing from a previous part. And here is the one I've just used. So return value you replace. And instead of writing it again, I could have gone to history and clicked reuse. That's a great note. Let's see, can I still find that permanent exhibition? I'm gonna copy permanent here in case I spelled something wrong, which is usually the case. There we go, I did. Let's just double check that this is correct. It's a subclass of the regular exhibition. Yes, the ID match. So I'm gonna copy that QID. And I imagine there are several ways to do this. I always use transform. No, I'm not gonna use transform. I just saw something else here. Maybe I'm gonna learn something new. I'm gonna go to edit cells, replace, and here I can find the value and I can replace it with something. So I'm gonna replace it with permanent, and I can say permanent here, but I should also be able to say it with a small p and say let this be case insensitive. And
then
I
you can
think
do
this.
another version for the other one.
Oh yeah, I could use the transform for the next one.
Or just the one that you did with the text, but apply to all cells.
Indeed. Yeah, we can actually do all three of those. That's a good one. This one is a little scary because if you have got like multiple words in a sentence, you would replace just the singular words. But in this case, we just got like the type in them, so it works just perfectly. Okay, it should work perfectly. Yeah, we can see it replace permanent. If I do a text filter here, no, not a text filter. If I do the text facet, we can see that there are no longer any permanents. It's just 14 with a QID, which is perfect for me because I don't actually need to retain the information that that particular exhibition is a permanent one. It doesn't help me in any particular way. But let's use this way, the facet, to actually. So if I click include here, we saw this because this was the error I did previously. I was editing just the ones I had selected. But it also means that I can actually edit all of the ones. Here's I don't think it's fill. Let's see if I do transform here. And let's see, I selected the temporarily one. So I'm gonna copy the QID for the temporarily one. And I'm gonna say not return value because I've already made my filter. So I should be able to just say return and then the QID. So otherwise I would need to say, I could actually write a long one here to say return if, return that, and so on. Sometimes I've ended up writing small software programs in here. But that one should be okay. We see temporarily is replaced. Nothing, there's nothing other than temporarily here. So it looks good. I'm going to click OK. We can see now that temporarily turned to 0, but traveling is still at 2. So I can click exclude, and we just got the traveling one to go. And I thought we said we could do another one. Yeah, we can do this with actually the same way as the former one, but slightly different. So I'm gonna do edit cells, transform, and I'm gonna say if value is equal to traveling, then
I think they use double L here.
We might use double L or there. I actually need to look up the Q item anyway. So that's just the exhibition. Let's see. There we go. Copy the QID here. Let's find my way back. And I just want to return the QID if the value is just set to travel. It's kind of tricky to preview here because I don't think we're likely. Yeah, we are. So we got an example here, traveling, and it's the Q number I set it to. And I gotta click OK. And I broke something because there are a lot of blank ones. So type here has turned blank in a lot of cases, which probably makes...
You didn't return anything for those others.
Yeah, so that's a great example. So what I should have done is I should have used return value at the end, because if you do not return anything, it's not an error. Because if it would have been an error, it would just have been keeping the old value. So if I go here, Can I now go to history? Will this just, yeah. So there I go to showcase the history. And here I need to say return value. And okay. And I think that should have done the trick. Yes. So I have the type sorted out, and this is as far as I'm gonna get today, I believe. But it kind of showcases the type of challenges you often run into with data. And I think I'm gonna next time actually gonna do the actual import of this. So with that, I leave that as a hint until next week. I think I'm gonna do quite a bit more cleaning up behind the scenes during the coming week. But hopefully the import will then go smoothly.
All right. So let's just check back what happened to my things. So we can see that it says it did 100%, 580 out of 580. This is actually just, it didn't have any errors because it didn't make 580 edits. So we can see very nicely here on Hultsfred municipality, who already had a phone number before. And if we scroll down to the phone number, phone. Here, we can see it has two references now. And one came from this session. So it already had this value, but from another source. So quick statement at least didn't add it one more time. It just added one more extra. I'm not sure, Nicholas, you said you were going to look it up. And you were 80% sure that that OpenRefine does the same. So if it actually does, that's great. But at least we know quick statements can handle this. So.
And I think I next week will show the actual OpenRefine import. I do only create new items and doesn't do the matching, but I will still showcase OpenRefine next week.
Ooh, yes. Creating new things is also interesting because that's also a little bit of a special case.
Oh. Let's see about that next week.
Yes. And I think I have more things to do in this data set to improve the data in Wikidata. So I might also return to OpenRefine next week. And I think that's all for this week. So happy editing.
Happy editing.